Alex,
Yes.
you have a black-red spell that you wanted to discuss. A spell from back in the day.
Back in the day. I'm not sure why this came up, but it came up recently. I came across it again, and I know I have a few of them, and I used it, and I liked it back in the day. Kaervek's Purge. I don't know how many people remember this. When I looked it up, I realized it hasn't been reprinted again since Mirage. Only has one printing.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's weird.
Yeah, and so when this card came out, like there was like a fair amount of buzz around it, if I remember. People were pretty stoked because it was, not, still a limited card pool back then, and this added a new way to do some direct damage. Anyways, what it does is it's 1 black, 1 red, X sorcery. Destroy target creature with casting cost equal to X. If that creature is put into the graveyard this way, Kaervek's Purge deals to the creature's controller an amount of damage equal to the creature's power. So the two numbers that are important are the creature's casting cost and its power. But you get a creature removal and a big hit to your opponent, presumably, or a small hit to your opponent, in one spell. This came out at the same time as Kaervek's Torch in Mirage. Kaervek's Torch makes counter spells that target it cost 2 more to cast. So that was a really big spell at the time because it was like an anti-counter direct damage spell.
That was. I've heard people talk about the Torch too. I don't remember what I was listening to or what I was watching, but it was like a Mirage era draft.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, you take the Torch, right? And they're like, yeah, you take the Torch. Like the Kaervek's Torch, I guess when you were drafting Mirage was like the thing you would want to pick up. That's how you would like finish off a game.
It was really strong back in the day. Everyone, when people had been basically using, Fireball, Disintegrate, not too many spells to choose from. And then Kaervek's Torch came out and it made it so much harder to counter. This would be like your Kaervek's Torch would be your finishing move, against a blue deck because now it's so much harder to counter. Anyways, I was just mentioning it because these two cards came out at the same time and it was like, oh wow, 2 more options that are neat. Kaervek's Purge, probably outclassed today is my opinion, I guess. It probably hasn't aged super well, but I think there are still a few neat uses for it. And you mentioned Phyrexian Dreadnought, which I think
I like this, really Alex. This is like the bane of Phyrexian Dreadnought. So many people are playing Dreadnought decks in pre-modern. I want to see somebody bust out a Kaervek's Purge.
And that's a good point because it's for as popular as Dreadnought decks are, this would definitely be a good card to have on hand.
It is the nightmare of Dreadnought because you just have to pay 1 in your colorless cost and you do 12 damage to them.
For 3 mana, I destroy your linchpin creature and you take 12 damage. Boom. Boom.
So I've never seen that happen, but I do want it to happen. I kind of just want to sideboard. I kind of just want to make a black-red deck and just sideboard Kaervek's Purges just to try to make that happen one day. Other than a Dreadnought deck, though, I'm trying to think like how often this I'd be like, I'm jazzed to have this in my
very situational. Any creature that you really want to get rid of at all is going to now make this a 5 casting cost spell or something, or a 6 casting cost spell. It starts to get expensive really quickly. When I tried using it back then, I remember being like a little underwhelmed. At first, I was like, this will be fun. And I was kind of like, it's a little, unwieldy.
I wonder if the designers specifically had Dreadnought in mind when they designed this card. I mean, they're both Mirage. They're both Mirage.
It could be. I wonder how many other cards from Mirage Kaervek's Purge would work well against too. You know what I mean? I wonder if there are a few other creatures that have something similar going like Dreadnought.
I can't think of any other like low casting cost, high power creature from that set. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. Mirage is a pretty big set.
Emberwild Djinn. That's something else from Mirage that is relevant.
Is that the straight red?
Yeah.
Straight up red?
Emberwild Djinn is 2 colorless, 2 red, 5/4 flying. During each player's upkeep, he or she may pay 2 red or 2 life to gain control of Emberwild Djinn. Late game finisher for Delirium / Purge deck. Use Dark Ritual to pay for the X cost. But if you ramp
This is-
AQ,
This is already getting ridiculous, I think.
yeah. But if you ramp AQ Jin or let your opponent keep Emberwild Jin, then you can use this to great effect. So I guess what they're saying is in a deck where you use Emberwild Jin for his like early game, you know, how cool he is, and then they steal him from you.
But
then,
also AQ Jin.
yes, also AQ Jin.
I don't remember exactly what AQ Jin does. I know.
As far as so AQ Jin puts +1/+1 counters on your opponent's creatures.
Okay.
So I guess what he's saying is if you play with AQ Jin, now your opponent's going to have low casting cost creatures that are getting pumped. So it might be a 1 casting cost creature that now gets up to 4 or 5 power.
Well, you got to let that happen for a while, though, and still stay alive.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. I guess the idea is that the AQ Jin helps you early. And then as the AQ Jin's like price starts to creep up on you, then you can use your Kaervek's Purge.
Okay. Is AQ... Does AQ put +1/+1 counters on only like one of your opponent's
all
creatures?
of your opponent's creatures.
So this guy doesn't know how to build decks. But you know what? Let me say though, I understand him. I feel like I understand this.
I think it's a neat idea there when he's talking. He's seeing a use for it because AQ Jin makes a small casting cost creature bigger.
I feel like I understand this man. I feel like we share some DNA when it comes to Magic deck building, because when we first started getting back into Magic again, I bought AQ Jins. I bought Emberwild Jins. I bought that Jin, the blue Jin that gives your opponent 3 cards when you play it. Because I want to build a stupid Jin deck, and I just want to sometimes win games with it. So yes, they're terrible, but also I want to play them.
I was trying to find a way to slot AQ Jin in back then when it came out, and I was like, I didn't, but it's always been a card that kind of fascinated me.
So yes, maybe I play AQ Jins and Kaervek's Purge.
And you kind of got me on the Emberwild Jin train. I appreciate its uses a little more now than I did. I can see.
I've never played with it, but I kind of want to.
People do though, right? Like I think it's kind of liked.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I mean, maybe not as a 2.
No, I don't think anybody plays with. Nobody plays with it.
Never mind.
It's 90 cents, and it's only 90 cents because it's reserve list.
Someone else mentions Delirium in the context of this. That's 1 black, 1 red, 1 colorless. Tap target creature that player controls. That creature deals to the player an amount of damage equal to its power. Creature neither deals nor receives combat damage this turn. Play only on opponent's turn.
That's what I was thinking. So, if you have a card like Emberwild Jin, you could play Kaervek's Purge. You could give it to them. They could lose 2 life to get the card, and then you could play Kaervek's Purge on them.
Yeah,
deal 5 damage. But in the case of the Emberwild Jin, it's 1, 2, 6 mana to do that.
It's a lot of mana.
But you could use Delirium.
Right.
1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, instant. Play only on target opponent's turn. So they take your Jin, they lose 2 life. You play this instant, you tap the Jin to deal 5 damage to them.
Yeah.
I like it. And then you bring it back to you next turn. Okay. There's also Backdraft, right? Is it called
Backlash? I was just going to say Delirium is almost exactly the same as Backlash. I don't think I didn't remember Delirium, and I got excited about Backlash when I found out about it.
I think Backlash is better.
It is.
Yeah. I can't remember why, but I
you don't have to play it.
That it was.
You don't have to play it on their turn.
Okay.
You can just play it anytime.
1 colorless, 1 black, 1 red, instant. Tap target untapped creature. That creature deals damage equal to its power to its controller.
Oh, also, well, Delirium doesn't say that the creature has to be untapped. So I guess in theory you could use Delirium on a tapped creature, and Backlash you couldn't. So that's a difference.
So that was our Kaervek's Purge segment. Yeah. Kaervek's Purge to Djinns to Delirium to Backlash.